So the 5 habits is kind of a thought process or methodology that I developed from my past year of working here at Geiger, and some of the trends that I saw around really what I felt like were some themes that would help people to be more successful and more grounded in the process of change. And so it was just literally like the things that you guys taught me in a way that is a process or a method or a path to simplify behavior change, or to simplify how we look at ourselves and our capacity to do better. Right? How many people in the room would like to do better in some part of their lives? Yeah. How many of us want to do better, but we have this vision that feels like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there? Yeah, good. That's really good to know. And that was another piece that I saw, is this theme of like, I'm here, but I really want to be there, and whoa. Because that's like 2 different people, or a long process, and someone told me it takes 28 days or 21 days or 30 days to change, and I've tried 16 things for 21, 28, or 30 days, and nothing stuck. What's my problem? So, behavior change takes 6 to 12 months. If anyone tells you it takes less, that's not true. That's a marketing thing. Because what we're doing is we're repatterning a habit, and habits are things that we don't even think about. I, make 6 cups of coffee every day. Boom, I don't even have to look at the 6 anymore. I know from the amount of time and the sound of the water and the heaviness of the pot. It's a habit, right? I know exactly, I don't even count anymore the scoops. So it takes a long time to do that. When I first started making coffee, I was messing it all up, right? So growth happens over time. And the beautiful thing that I want to talk about today is that we're really designed for growth. Our brains are designed for growth, our hearts are designed for growth, our psyches are designed for growth. And the beautiful thing is that neuroscience is teaching us this stuff too. We're discovering that our brain can change. Whereas when I was in high school, we were told, don't do certain things because your brain, it's done growing after 17 and you're hopeless. And I thought, I'm just not smart enough. I have to do really well, because if I mess up, I don't have enough brain cells. That's wrong. We can grow into our 90s. I teach yoga. My oldest student is 91 years old. The oldest student I've ever taught was 98. And she moved to Florida. She's done with me. And I've seen people get better physically, mentally, and emotionally by practicing. So that's what the 5 habits is about, essentially. And my motto is that when people are empowered, our potential is evolved, but also achieved. Who wants to achieve their potential? I want to do it every day. I'm very motivated to do that every day. And I'm motivated to help you guys do that every day. And the very first piece that I found, and this is why it's the first habit, is that when we have a mindset of growing for life, we set the foundation and we build the capacity that we have that as a possibility. That it is our potential to grow. And that's very much a mindset. We're going to learn about fixed mindset and what that looks like in people. Maybe we have a little peppering of that in our lives. But then growth mindset and what that looks like in people, and how that can really empower you to evolve and to achieve. Do you want to evolve and achieve? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happens when you evolve and achieve personally? Within your personal stuff, outside of work. What happens?
You feel better.
You feel better. Who wants to feel, but you get stronger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my hot button lately is being in a flow state, where you're very much engaged, but you're challenged. And it's both, they're meeting each other. Engagement and challenge gets us to grow. That's what a growth mindset is. So it's about dedicating yourself over time, realizing that this is a process, not a product. We're not products. We're going to be products when we're 6 feet under. Done. Life is a process. And that throughout life we can continue to evolve, to do a little bit better, to grow. And there's lots of reasons for it. We get to feel better over time, but then also that's our human potential. So growing your whole life. Growth orientation is about saying it's never too late to become who you wanted to be. So it starts with a vision. Who has a vision for where they want to go? Maybe you have a vision for the next 6 months. Maybe you have a vision for this month. Maybe you have a vision for every decade of your life. Who has a vision? You guys don't seem all that like... Maybe you have a vision for this month. I'm turning 46 at the end of this month. I'm like refining that vision. You know, it's not going to be how my parents or my grandparents were 46. It's going to be how I'm doing it. It's different, right? So here's the neuroscience behind mindset. Our brains are malleable. What does that mean? What is it when something is malleable?
Like it's fixed and rigid.
It's not fixed, it's not rigid, so
Like
it's
a sponge,
pliable.
ever-changing.
It's pliable. Guess what? Our brains are pliable. We exercise our brains every day. How do we exercise our brains? Do you know this? By using it. Yeah, by using it. And the pliability of our brains is that our brains take shape around the ways that we use it. So if you think the world's a good place, what are you going to see in the world when you look outside? You're going to see the good. This is no joke. You will see the good, right? Even in the difficult situations, I'm always saying to people like, okay, that's the story. Like, here's the story. We found the story out. What's the story behind the story? Because there's a lesson, right? People teach us all kinds of great things. When I was in India one time, I remember like the trip leader being really snippy with people. And I was like, the story was, she's snippy and I don't like that, and I just paid thousands of dollars for this trip and I don't deserve to be snipped at. And then I stepped back and I was like, okay, but the story behind the story is, this is what happens when I'm snippy to people and I'm in a leadership role. And so if I'm not snippy to people, this is what happens, and I'm going to take that as the lesson. And I was like, oh, thank you. Wow, oh, you just showed me something else. Really good, really insightful. So wherever we direct our attention toward the good, toward the stagnant, toward the bad, is what's going to happen. And you've all heard like the law of attraction. If you're negative, you're going to draw that, into your life. If you're not, if you're positive, things will gain that momentum. And being negative isn't a flow state, because you're not engaged, you're down here. And the challenge becomes a far more greater reach. Does that make sense? So if you're positive, that's where you meet the challenge, and that's how you get into a state of flow. So 4 things really impact our brain's malleability. And again, if it's a smiley face or a sad face, the brain is here, just like silly putty, and whatever you put it up against, it will become. Exercise. It regenerates, it grows brain cells, and it connects them when we do challenging things. That's why yoga is so beneficial for mind, the malleability of your mind and your body, because you're challenged and you're using your body in a complex way. Nutrition, right? Our brain's tissues. If we eat well, then the tissues of our brains get nutrients and hydrated. If we sleep well, makes sense, right? And if we have mindful awareness. If we're aware of the situation, of the story behind the story, of not being reactivity. These aren't just like willy-nilly. These are potent, powerful tools that I'm hoping to continue to evolve here at Geiger, because this will impact our lives in every aspect, in every way. So what is a growth mindset? A growth mindset is where someone has the mentality or the idea that they can learn something every day. It's like, oh, you're kind, I'm going to learn how to be more kind. You're bossy, I'm going to learn the edge of being assertive and not bossy. Right? You're being difficult, I'm going to learn that when I'm in a confused or sad state, how I can be difficult. And then choose maybe to find, what's appropriate in the situation. So growth mindset allows us to continually improve our abilities over time because it's the thought that we can just do better. And it doesn't mean that we have to push beyond our capacities. That's not flow state. That's putting us in a difficult situation. So understanding that our intelligence can be developed. What I love about being in my mid-40s is I'm so much smarter than I was when I was in my mid-30s and my mid-20s and as a teenager. And I know that there's more capacity to grow that. Where challenges are embraced. How many of us have lived life without difficulty? I can think of 3 real strong storylines in my life that were big, big challenges, and they're the absolute best things that have ever happened to me because I embrace them. Persistence in the face of obstacles. You're going to give up? Someone doesn't say hi to you in the hallway, you're going to have that be your bad day. But that's kind of my new example because it happens. You're like, what? Just hello? Paul, hi. Does that influence the rest of your day? Because then you're taking something on that it's not your stuff. Effort is the path to mastery. That's the flow state. Show up, get some skin in the game. This is part of growth mindset. Feedback is an opportunity. How am I doing? What's going on? Where can I evolve? Maybe sometimes people's delivery around feedback isn't, we're like, ugh, seeing that hard stuff about ourselves. But without feedback, we don't get better. And success of others. Can you look at the success of others as an inspiration? How many of you do that? Who inspires you? Who really inspires you? Do you know? Cool. So, fixed mindset. Where you're an expert already. Nope, got it, got this under control. 6-year-old in our house. I can do it! I can tie my own shoes. All right. And then you know how that goes. You're like, all right, come here. 2 hours later, she actually can tie her own shoes. Where you have fixed abilities. This is it. Yeah, came from this family, work in this place, I'm in this department, I have this shaped body, this is just all that it is. Here I am. Fixed. No. Where, yep, went to college, graduated, got a 3.5, fantastic, that's it, that's as smart as I'm ever going to be. 45 is downhill from here. Is it? No, doesn't have to be. Where you avoid challenges. Oh, I know that person's walking this way, I'm going to walk that way. Because they're not going to say hi to me in the hall. And I don't want to face that people aren't happy in the world. I don't know, I'm just joking around with this. But where your obstacles become your setbacks as opposed to your growth edges. This is really difficult. Oh, I tried so hard on this project and I put everything into it. And it needs to be updated, it needs to be changed, it could be better. I failed. Versus, all right, I'm going to need it. Great, thank you for showing me this piece. Do you see? Where efforts are fruitless. I work with people sometimes, they're like, I don't know, convince me why I should try to quit smoking, lose weight, eat better, get a girlfriend. I'm like, I can't convince you to do any of that. You got to figure it out for yourself. I know why I'm doing it. I'll tell you why I'm doing it. Is that going to help you? Probably not. Where feedback becomes criticism. I'm wondering if you spread your fingers in this yoga pose, if you'll find more strength. Are you saying I'm weak? No. Just wondering. Is there, feedback that, is it criticism or is it an opportunity to reflect? There are lots of intelligent people here that see things from a very different angle. And I love working in programs and on projects where you're like, oh, I want you because I'm really different from you, and I want you for this reason, and I want you for that reason. And I'm not choosing the people who I'm most alike. I might choose the people who are easier to work with, but I want different perspectives so that you can grow. You know, someone says that you're great. Oh, you're fantastic. You keep doing what you're doing. You're fantastic. No feedback for you.
I just wanted to mention something because I mentioned it in the conflict resolution workshop that I did, but I think if you can ask for feedback and welcome it, and it doesn't feel so much like criticism, so
Sure.
if you can find someone that you trust, like
Yeah.
for Nancy and I have been doing this for years. We're in a meeting, we're doing a training, whatever. Can you keep an eye on me and just give me feedback about whether I could have done something different? In my family, my daughter and I are always like this, and
Yeah.
my granddaughter is often around, so I'll say to my granddaughter, what do you think I could have done differently in that situation with your mom? Because I think she's a little more
Yeah.
reasonable
Sure.
and open-minded,
And there are just some people who aren't ready.
right.
We're
So,
facing that all
yeah,
the time.
so, and the other thing about giving feedback is sometimes it's nice to ask people if they want it from you.
Yeah.
Would you like me to give you some feedback
Yeah.
about something I said?
Yeah, asking permission.
So it can take that defensiveness away from yourself and perhaps from other people as well.
The method that I use around feedback is obviously, you know, like I do this in yoga all the time. People will be like, oh, this is going on in my body, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So how can I help you? Because I, go right there. Oh, there are these 3 things that you could do, right? And I might say 2 really positives and 1 thing that's a developmental. So that's just a technique that I've used too. That you're threatened by the success of others. Do any of you work or know people where you feel like, oh, this person's shining and you get threatened or they get threatened? It's really clear. It comes across as fear. It comes across as negativity. The mindset shapes our world, and I want you to take a look at this. Jonathan Reeder. Uh-oh. Why is there no volume? Unmute. I know. We're gonna.
Realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within. Part of the lost generation.
How do we, so it's obviously, the computer's up as high as it can go. So it starts out, so this is millennials. I'm a part of a lost generation. I actually just listened to this TED Talk last week, and it was fantastic. It was this guy in his 50s who'd been brought on to Airbnb, and he was working with all these millennials, and he felt totally incompetent. And then realized, oh wait, I actually have wisdom and history and experience, and if we collaborate, things are going to, we see the world in very different ways. But it's a cool TED Talk. Anyways, here. So, growth mindset.
I am part of a lost generation. I refuse to believe that I can change the world. I realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within is a lie.
I realize I'm
And money will
incompetent.
make me happy. So in 30 years, I will tell my children they are not the most important thing in my life.
Let's go back.
I am part of a lost generation. I refuse to believe that I can change the world. I realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within is a lie, and money will make me happy. So in 30 years, I will tell my children they are not the most important thing in my life. My employer will know that I have my priorities straight because work is more important than family. I tell you this, once upon a time, families stayed together, but this will not be true in my era. This is a quick fix society. Experts tell me 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. I do not concede that I will live in a country of my own making. In the future, environmental destruction will be the norm. No longer can it be said that my peers and I care about this earth. It will be evident that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is hope, and all of this will come true, unless we reverse it. there is hope. It is foolish to presume that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that my peers and I care about this earth. No longer can it be said that environmental destruction will be the norm. In the future, I will live in a country of my own making. I do not concede that 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. Experts tell me this is a quick-fix society. But this would not be true in my era. Families stayed together once upon a time. I tell you this, family is more important than work. I have my priorities straight because my employer will know that they are not the most important thing in my life. So in 30 years, I will tell my children money will make me happy is a lie, and happiness comes from within. I realize this may be a shock, but I can change the world, and I refuse to believe that I am part of a lost generation.
So just a little, to me, some of the messages in this might hit home, some of them might feel a little strong, but these are two perspectives on life, For some of you, might resonate in certain areas, right? So, I learned this a long time ago around life, and that life isn't just as it is, life is as you are. And so having a growth mindset is about looking at potential rather than obstacle, right? Possibilities rather than obstacles. Potential rather than what is detrimental. And finding what is right for you, because I believe we can all do better in some way, and we can meet that if we can meet that challenge with a little bit of effort and a little bit of grace, positive, good things can happen, and the vision that we hold for ourselves is more likely to come true. This is one of the first parts of behavioral change. If you don't believe that there's new possibilities, it's just not going to even begin to start happening for you. So this is why this is the first habit. So the habit of reframing, the habit of looking for the potential, the opportunities, the good, these are all growth mindset habits. So positive results follow positive thoughts, not negative thoughts. Sometimes good things just happen to people who are in a negative state of mind, and that's lucky, that's grace, that's whatever. But the quote that I gave at the first piece around Michael Jordan, he missed 9,000 shots. He knew that he could grow, and that missing those shots, he learned what not to do. That's growth mindset. Not, I missed 9,000. How many of us would miss something 9,000 times and get in the Hall of Fame? That's a strong growth mindset. So, taking the next steps, set a vision, see the good, seize the opportunity. We can have it be as simple as that. Because motivation, right, those motivating factors are really what drive us toward achievement. We see this in kids. So growth mindset is something that's being rolled out with children, and that if kids believe they can get smarter, learning becomes a goal and they make the effort stronger. If you believe, if you have hope that something better can happen, you put forth the effort and you meet the challenge to an appropriate degree. So more time is spent and higher achievement happens. We talk about people being naturally gifted, and maybe there's that underlying propensity. But to play a musical instrument with any proficiency, we have to, it's 10,000 hours. It took me 10 years to come into a full split. I was not so hotly persistent about it, but persistent enough, So 8 ways to grow your mindset. You can do one or all of these things. I like to keep it simple and do 1 or 2. Can you create a new compelling belief about yourself? And then fake it. Say it to yourself in a positive affirmation like it's already true. What are you doing when you do this? We learned about it in the very first slide. You're training what? You're training your brain. You're training your brain. And your brain will set up the conditions to have this more likely to become true. There are other things that go into it, but view failure in a different light. The 6-year-old in our family is so good. When she fails at something, she can't do it, she like kicks it, throws it away. You know, like, hold on, a little patience. Just kind of type A. Are you doing that? Well, I don't know, I tried this, and, right? I went to the birthday party and all went, you know where. We all come, you know, going to the, I'm gonna go to the birthday party. Actually, I have one this weekend and one next weekend. My son-in-law's turning 30 today. So cute. Cultivate your self-awareness, know where you are. Don't be dead in what's happening. Be curious and committed to lifelong learning. My grandparents taught me this. They're like so inspiring. When they lost their physical abilities, they challenged their abilities of their heart and became more loving and compassionate. My aunts and uncle and my dad are like, I don't even know who these people are. They raised 7 kids, you know, like the belt was a part of our raising. They all deserved it. Befriend challenge. Do what you love. Love what you do. Be tenacious. Inspire others and be inspired by others. And this is literally like a scan that says that when we're out of these states, we're in that fixed mind state, that we're actually using less of our brain. We are less turned on. We are not in a state of flow. And the person on the right is in that state of flow where they're meeting the challenges with dedication. That's growth mindset. It's not like taking out any time in your day to do anything different. It's not working any harder. You know, it's not like putting effort into something other than what you're engaged in. It's meeting what you're engaged in fully with all of your capacities. So it's not doing any, you know, it's not like we got to take time out to get in a flow state from work. No, it's like whatever is there. Whatever is there. If it's easy, if it's difficult, if it's familiar, if it's unfamiliar, if you meet the challenge and put yourself in that state of meeting, of growing, of working to the right levels, you get there. Does that make sense? Okay. So there's not going to be a you know, grow for life break that happens at Geiger where we take, you know, anything outside of what we're already doing and implement it. Ways, so when you're in that flow state, when you're growing, you can flourish, you can thrive. This is positive psychology. Who wants to flourish and thrive? Like, yeah, woo, woo, let's do it. In all aspects of life. Keep good company. Who was I talking to not so long ago? They're like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to work on this, so I'm not hanging out with those guys anymore. Because they're a little more negative. Not doing that. Speak positive affirmations to yourself. Fake it. And then once you get a little competent, look in the mirror and say it out loud. You'll own it and it'll become a part of you to a different degree. Meditation and exercise are also great ways to grow the capacity of your mind. Exercise grows brain cells. We can grow brain cells. And then when you go to work and you apply yourself at something, you know, to something that's challenging, it creates synaptic connections. So you become more proficient at what it is that you're doing. So if you're on the treadmill and you're feeling lousy, speak a positive affirmation, and that's what your brain will be trained to see and to feel and to experience. It's super cool. Meditation, same thing. It just means direct your mind to something and keep that as a focus. You can meditate and type an email to someone. And it's just be mindful around, like, oh, I want to, what's a work intention that you have, that you might have? I want to be like really skilled and clear. And that if you begin to focus on that, that begins to happen. And then maybe you sit out at a break for 5 minutes and you breathe and say, I want to be really skilled at communicating and clear. Laugh and have fun. I don't do that enough. I need to do that. I really do. Like, I'm so serious, you know. And then write your goals down. Where do you want to go? It might be a mindset thing. I want to be more positive because I'm sick of sitting in this slump. I want to, or we have all kinds of goals, right? But growth mindset is around that. I want to see the opportunities and challenges. I want to face obstacles with the best of my ability, and I want to grow to my greatest potential. Not that I believe the world's a bad place. I'm going to filter through everything that happens on the news and believe that's the only thing that ever happens in the world, and that I'm fixed and I can't get better, and here I am. And when you do this in one part of your life, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your job, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's your relationships, it translates to other pieces. So, growing for life, it's positive, right? It's affirming, and it's far more beautiful than dying. What questions do you have? Do you see why that's the first habit? It's the foundation. It's the foundation. Believe in yourself. No one else will believe in you more. And the most powerful piece that we have within us is our drive for autonomy. Do you guys know what autonomy is? To make the choices, to make our own choices for ourselves. If someone tells you what to do, there's oftentimes a little bit of resistance. What I like to do is capitalize on these things that are intrinsic to us, my autonomy, and focus the energy and the attention in that direction, which is growth. I want to choose my vision and my path and my process. And this is growth mindset. As you get more clear with what you want and the steps to get there, you're only helping yourself because you're creating a new story and a new paradigm. Make sense? You're the only one that can do it for you. I might be able to pepper in a little story behind the story. You're going to gain more momentum if you can see it for you. Empower yourself, evolve your potential. Achieve your potential. Let's go better. Achieve your potential. Is that fair? Now I've gone way over. We started late. Technical difficulties. Cool. Have an awesome rest of your day. All right, you got it. Is there a sign in? Maybe we're supposed to sign in.